Again, another thing that you may have heard of before, Pythagorean Theorem, which may or may not have been discovered by Pythagoras. I'm pretty sure most people say it was not discovered by Pythagoras. Pythagoras was a really weird guy. If you're ever curious about the wacky things that mathematicians have done, read about Pythagoras, okay? But there's this theorem that has his name, and it says that if we have a right triangle, the right triangle part is very, very important. You can't leave this part out. If we have a right triangle, usually we call C the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle, hypotenuse, it's a good word. Then the square, if we square both of the other sides and add them up, that equals the square of this. Okay, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, and we're going to use that. Find the missing side by using the Pythagorean theorem. Example 6.5. So we got a pretty good looking triangle over here. Figure not drawn to scale because I can't draw, apparently. Not apparently. I've known that for a long time. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem, right? Oh, wait, I want to be consistent. We called that B, didn't we? Oh, no, this was A, right? Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, A is 3. So 3 squared plus b is 4 equals c squared. Let's simplify and solve for c. 3 squared is 9 plus 4 squared is 16 equals c squared. Add them up. 25 equals c squared. We will take the square root of both sides. There's a property that says this means that c is equal to positive or negative 5. So c could be negative 5, but we're talking about distances here. We're not going to have a distance of negative 5. So we're just going to say the hypotenuse is just 5. Okay? So find the missing side. The missing side has length 5 of some kind of units. If you really want to be a mathematical superstar, you can write 5 units. But just 5 is enough. Okay? And that's what we're doing here. But be careful, because in something like example 6.6, it can get a little trickier. There can be some pitfalls. You're going to want to be a little careful for 2 reasons. The first reason is they're switching up the lettering on you. Now B is the bottom. It literally doesn't matter what you call it. A, B, Z. That's a discussion for another time. But we do the same thing, okay? So in this case, this is A, and that's C. My head was covering the A. And again, we have a squared plus b squared. Nope. Nice try, Jason. This is what you get for drawing in pen. Equals c squared. So we just plug it in. And again, anytime you're using a formula, I highly recommend you write out the formula before putting in any numbers. There's a lot of advantages to this. Partial credit is a big one, but also it lowers the chances for mistakes. So a is 12, so we replace a squared with 12 squared. B, we don't know, and C is 13. Now let's simplify before trying to solve. Anytime we can make something simpler, we like simple. I have a master's degree in math, and I love simple, so it doesn't even matter how good you are at math. Simple's very nice. 12 squared, use a calculator. It's 144 plus b squared equals 13 squared, which is 169. Now we have a b squared, but we can't square root yet. Square rooting is bad. When we solve an equation, we go in reverse order of operations. PEMDAS, right? But when we're solving an equation, we go SADMEP. Okay? So normally to simplify, we go PEMDAS. To solve, we go the opposite way. So we need to get rid of this summing first. So we subtract the 144, subtract the 144, and we're going to get b squared equals 25. Jason, this is not very creative. You got two 25s over here. All right. Square root both sides. We're going to get b is equal to plus or minus 5, but we're not going to have a side length of negative 5, so we're just going to say that b equals 5. And you know, maybe we're happy. You can just be kind of a little boring and have this be your answer, or you can say b equals 5 and give a smiley face. Or, I don't know, maybe you have someone hanging out on a sunny day and that person's saying, I love math. Who knows? You know, I can't speak for how you want to write your answer, but there's a lot of different ways of writing your answers here. Okay? And that's one of them. And again, 5, 12, 13, 3, 4, 5. These are examples of famous magical triangles. We won't talk too much about those, but they have some names. Last example. The dreaded application problem, otherwise known as a word problem. Don't freak out. Okay? A sailboat has a large sail in the shape of a right triangle. That's a vocab word. Right triangle means one of the angles is a right angle. The longest edge of the sail measures 17 yards. We got some units. And the bottom edge of the sail is 8 yards. Okay, anytime you're in units, you have units, make sure your units are the same. If this was in yards and this were in feet, we'd have to do some of the previous unit in order to solve this problem. So let's draw a picture. Anytime you can draw a picture, you should draw a picture. So the sail is a right triangle. So let's say it looks something like this. Beautiful sail. And it's a right triangle, which means there's a right angle. We use a box to denote the right angle. The longest edge is 17 yards. Now be very careful. Which one's the longest edge? The hypotenuse is always the longest edge. And the shortest edge is 8 yards. So this one looks shorter. We'll have this one be 8 yards. The question is, how tall is the sail? So if you accidentally labeled this one as 17, this should tip you off that you made a mistake, because it says how tall is the sail. That's the thing we don't know yet. We could call this A, we could call this X, we could call this B, we could call this fancy pants. I don't know, it doesn't matter. We want to find this out. So it's almost exactly like the previous problem now. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We don't know what A is. We know B is 8. And we know C is 17. I'm going to go through this a little quickly since we've done it before, but feel free to pause or slow down the video. Simplify. A squared plus 64 equals 289 maybe? Subtract 64. A squared is equal to 225. Take the square root of both sides and you're going to get A is plus or minus 15. We really only care about 15. I have not given the correct answer. Okay, this is not the correct answer. How tall is the sail? 15. Is it 15 centimeters? Is it 15 inches? Is it 15 miles? Let's include units on our answer. It's 15 yards. Okay, and now we've got the correct answer right here. Very important. If someone is asking you length or distance or something like that, make sure you say with the right units. 15 yards. Okay. And that's the video. All right. Enjoy that homework assignment.